Here we go. All right. Okay, beautifuls, welcome to our little call here today. So happy that you can be here with us. And I'm excited about this call because it is one thing to be in the conversation about how to grow our wealth or invest in ourselves and our wealth in terms of client attraction and increasing our income. That's one part of the picture. And then there's this whole other piece about, okay, well, we're all in that conversation, growing our businesses, growing our income, through the ups and the downs, but hopefully over time, there's more and more. But then there's this whole other piece of the conversation that's like, okay, so what do we do with our wealth? What are the decisions that we can make right now at any age, at any income level that are towards creating an expansive financial future? And what are the choices we can make with the wealth that we have? And what are the goals that we can set aside from just making more money? How can we grow our wealth? And so today we're getting into this topic of conscious real estate or feminine real estate with Erica. And really with the intention today about how do we come together as a collective of women to buy a retreat center or to create a women's collective or to create a community home or to create a healing center. So collaborative and feminine real estate, which is something that I've really never heard anyone talk about in a professional way. So Erica Kloehn, also known as Erica Blue on Facebook and in our community, is first and foremost an artist and works in the realm, does amazing work in the realm of theater and performance. But she's also a real estate agent and an expert in collaborative real estate, which is what I call it, community real estate. And I know that so many of us do have a vision, kind of a someday vision of having a retreat center or a healing center or some land that we can use to host retreats or events, or a communal home or a temple. And Erica really is just such an amazing resource in how we can come together and the choices we can make in terms of real estate, especially here in the Bay Area, which is kind of prohibitive in terms of trying to lone wolf it. So Erica, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just invite you to come on in. The final thing I'll say about you is, I've known this woman for years. We both teach at the Berkeley YMCA. That's just kind of like just like a for fun fulfillment piece of the kind of women that we are and how we like to be out in the East Bay community and serving the Berkeley tribe. And then we've also known each other for a long time through women's community, and it is such an honor and a privilege to be in community with this woman. She's just such an amazing mother and friend, and the way that she shows up in this community is just really beautiful. She's like just a favorite soul sister. So I'll turn it over to you, Erica. You'll have, 20 minutes or however long you want to teach, and then we'll open up for Q&A, or you can make the whole thing interactive, completely up to you. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you for, creating this community that you have, this Fem Talks community, because it's really at my sort of time of being insular and closed off from my own creativity, picking up your flyer when I'm waiting for my kids at some activity they were doing, and just seeing what you were doing to bring women together to strengthen each other really brought me to the next level. So thank you for what you do for our whole community and what you're doing for women at large. I mean, giving us a place to have a voice is so important, and it allows us to really open up to our greater and higher selves. So thank you for that. I wanted to, I'm not sure if any of you were at the Santa Rosa area or Novato area, North Bay talk that I had done with lovely Jill Lublin. It was less of a talk and more of a workshop, and that was...
I was there.
Oh, hey,
it was awesome.
Yeah, it was super fun, and And I really wanted it to be more of an interactive and open to the idea of working together to create something workshop. And a lot of the practicalities were left out of that. So we had a lot of great fun coming together as community, which is really the foundation of what you need to do to create something larger than yourself. So this time when I spoke, I wanted to go over some of the more practical aspects of what this conscious real estate is all about. And I wanted to start with a story about how I began in this and why I'm here now. So when I first moved to the Bay Area, my first job was at Children's Fairyland. I was the fairy at Children's Fairyland, and I had this great job of granting wishes and running the children's theater program there, which was wonderful and great fun. And I had a salon every month with doing my sort of modern dance work, which was just like my graduate school in dance and theater. And we did lots of art. We were, up to the eyeballs in art, which was great fun. And we rented a beautiful space in Jingletown. It had a studio, had a dance studio there. We had lights. My then boyfriend, now husband, had a art studio. And we had an amazing landlord who was so amazing that we called her our land goddess. And she came to our shows. Her name was Lottie Rose. She was a German immigrant, came over here with nothing after World War II except for her mother's diamond ring. And the first thing that she did was sold the ring, and she bought a property with it. And back then you could do that. Things were affordable enough. And she grew her, I guess you could almost call it an empire. She owned 60 properties here in the Bay Area and another 20 down in LA from that one diamond ring. She came to our shows all the time. She came to my yoga classes. Her husband was a cancer research kind of genius. And she said to us one day, she said, "Oh, darling, your art is so wonderful. I love to come to your show, but you'll never make money as an artist." So she just said that to us just because almost all of the people she rented to were young artists in their 20s. And she said she wanted to help us. "I want to help you. I want to help you buy something. Go get some money," she said. "Go get money and we're going to buy something together." And then we're like, "Well, how do we go? What do you mean go get money?" She's like, "Ask everybody you know. I want you to get money together. I want you to get $50,000. And we're like, "Well, how do we do that?" But we just started talking to everybody about the fact that we needed money for a down payment. We talked to, our parents, of course. We talked to our friends. We talked to, we had been saving a little bit. We worked extra hard over the next couple of months. I worked extra jobs, telling people, "Hey, I'm trying to get money together for a down payment. Can I work more?" So we pulled it together and we purchased a property with her. She went in on this property with us, 50-50. She walked us through it. She carried back the loan, which means we didn't have to get a loan from the bank because we didn't have the kind of jobs that you need for a bank to loan you. I was a fairy, so there's not a lot of, they didn't loan a lot to the fairies. But she carried back the loan, which means she loaned us money to buy this house. We bought it together with her 50-50. She walked us through what a mortgage was, walked us through what the payments were going to be, walked us through the process of fixing the house up because it was really dilapidated. It was off San Pablo, Athens Street. It was a tiny little duplex that had been pretty run down, and we put our sweat equity into it. We fixed up the garden. We had to re-sheetrock stuff. We had to pull up carpets and sand. We had to, pull junk out of the backyard. And we sold it in about a year for a $90,000 profit after that, which then by that time we knew a little bit more. And then we went in and we bought another fixer with her help. But at that time I had a job at that time, one of those .com jobs. And I was able to get a regular loan. So with that regular loan, and I'd only been working at that job for about 2 months. And I'm not sure, you have to be working now much longer than that, but there's a certain amount of time that you have to have this kind of regular job for the mortgage industry to recognize what that is. And we were able to buy another property. This time it was a super fixer, an old Victorian in Fruitvale. And it took us several years to fix that up. At that time, we decided to get married, and instead, in lieu of a wedding and wedding gifts, we asked people to give us Home Depot gift cards. That was our wedding gifts. So with those Home Depot gift cards, we fixed up this place. And we lived in it while it was sheetrocked, and I had my babies in, when there was rafters, open ceiling, open attic. It was, a little crazy. But we did it, and we have that home now, and we rent it out. We rent it out to artists. Each one lives in their own room. They live collectively. We lived there for many years. We grew up, our kids grew up there until we moved to Berkeley, to a much smaller place. But it's fine for us. And we don't feel like, I don't feel like wealth is something that can be, that you need to show off in a way that's, I have a brother, I love him dearly. He's in debt, but he has a Porsche and he has a nice home. He has a boat, he has actually 2 Porsches. So that's a different kind of a wealth. And we live relatively modestly, but now we own 3 houses, and we collect the rent on those homes. We rent to artists who, it's my goal to be able to teach them what Lottie taught us. So I feel like the homes that we rent are incubator properties to incubate people to stay, to save up enough money to then purchase their own home. And I want to do what she did. I want to pay it forward. I want to teach young people, anybody who wants to buy something, how to buy it. And it's my goal now is to get up enough capital so that I can help people with the down payment the same way that she did. And that's sort of what I'm working towards now. You may not have met Lonnie Gray, who came with me on to the Novato speaking engagement, but she is also similar story to mine, similar idea of wanting to help people purchase something. And she is looking into creating a public fund. She's looking to work with banks that have an altruistic bone who want to create a down payment fund. So there's all of these things that are kind of happening to triangulate the possibility of teaching and helping people that don't think they can buy a home to buy a home. First, you have to know how you're going to do it, and then next you just have to do it. And the way that you do that is by gathering your team. So in my workshop at Novato, I had this paper I passed around that said prosperity tools. And the first prosperity tool was to dream a new dream. And that's sort of what I was hoping that those exercises that we did there would help us inspire us to dream this collective dream, to have this idea of what we can build together. And that's the place to start. Like, what do I dream about? What do I want? The next is to reconcile the dream with reality. So how do you have those two live together, and that yin and yang kind of way that has it be equal dream and equal reality? Because when we're here on Earth, we have to live within the parameters of the earthbound constructs. And those earthbound constructs happen to have been, in many ways, created by men. So these financial institutions are something that have been run by men, created by men, and are highly complicated oftentimes. But it's something that I feel that we as women, and there are women in the financial industry that know this well, but those of us who come from this more spiritual or this more artistic part of the world, those of us who are all in our upper chakras, need to begin to move that energy down a little bit. So get down into that sort of power chakra And rather than being that right brain, we have to move some of that energy over into the left brain so that we can start to reconcile the fantasy with reality and learn some of these not so fun financial tools. And that's why we have people that help us. I don't understand all of the mortgage industry, but a mortgage officer does, a loan officer does. And you have to build a relationship with one that you can trust. And luckily, they're nice people who want to help people buy homes. Most people who in real estate and in mortgage are people who believe in ownership. When you own something, you have equity, and it's not the old kind of sharecropper model. When you rent versus when you own, you are making and putting money into the property that you own, versus renting, you are putting money into the property that is owned by someone else. When you leave a rented property, you leave with nothing. When you leave a property that you own, you leave with almost, you hopefully, as much as you put into it. And if you're lucky, with more. So that's sort of the way that this whole thing works, and why I think it's important to own. But the whole mortgage industry part of this piece is something that you kind of have to get to after you've really dreamed a clear dream. So you have to say, yes, I do want to do this. This is a goal of mine. It's the beginning of the quest. So as you decide to go on your quest to own something, along the way, you will have these helper entities, right? You can use the Star Wars model, right? You can look at Yoda as your financial advisor, or the whole idea of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. When you set yourself up for a big goal, like owning something, having a retreat center, you have to have people to help you along the way. And that is my third prosperity tool, which is gather your team. You have to pull together people that are going to be able to help you, because you won't know all of the things you need to know. It's kind of amazing when I see somebody, a new homeowner, go into escrow, which is right after they've decided to buy a home. And all of a sudden, all these gears start to work. And it's like you're in the midst of this whirlwind of things. The title company is doing one thing, and the loan officer is doing another thing. And you have all of this stuff is happening to make this money transfer from one place to another, so that poof, at the end of that, you get keys and it's yours. But you can't do it alone. And so you have to gather your team. And that's where the real estate agent, which I often refer to the real estate agent as somebody, like in Dante's Inferno, the guide through hell. You have the person who's bringing you through all of the steps to get you to the place you want to be, to understand the ultimate goal.
I love the guide through hell.
Yeah. And it is. And no realtor is going to tell you absolutely everything that you're going to need to know along the way, because it's so much that it would be overwhelming. So they do try to reveal one step at a time. When I work with a new buyer, I give them what's called a buyer's guide. It has a thesaurus in it of terms that you're going to need to know. So if you go in the underworld, it's good to know, the language that's spoken there. It also gives you the contract pre-written out so you can read it all, because you don't want to sign any contract, sign your soul off to the devil until you've read it, right? You do not want to sign anything until you know that contract. So you're given it a year in advance so that you have an opportunity to. In that guidebook, it's also information on taxes, information about hazard disclosures and other natural hazard disclosures, and other disclosures about the house itself, like, oh, well, it has a faulty septic tank. You have to start to know all of the things that might be wrong with your home before you buy it, right? It's a little bit like, I can use the, finding someone to date analogy as well, right? But you get to know everything about them before you actually marry them. You get to see, oh, this has a crack in the ceiling and the foundation is this. That is all going to be in the disclosure reports. So this buyer's guide it has everything in it that you're going to need, except all the details along the way. And those are kind of slowly revealed to you. But it wouldn't be an adventure if there weren't surprises. And the surprises are, if you haven't read everything, I didn't know there was a transfer tax. You have to understand that. I didn't know there was a sewer lateral charge. There's lots of little things that that are important to know are coming, so that you're not frightened by the process. And I think that's why it takes a year to educate yourself about the process, and then you're ready to start looking and buying. So that's why I say, hey, if you're not ready to buy now, that's fine, but start educating yourself now. You might not be ready for 2 years, but educate yourself now, so that in 2 years you know what's up. So currently, I met a woman up in Novato who came to me right afterwards, and she said, I do want to open a retreat center. And I said, great, come on, let's meet. So we've met, and she has her buyer's guide. Her first course of action is to figure out her financing and to gather enough money for a down payment, which she's doing by creating a fundraiser. So she's doing a fundraiser, and hopefully that fundraiser is going to give her enough money to invest to maybe start another fundraiser. We'll see how much she makes with that one fundraiser. And then if it's enough for a down payment, then she can begin to start looking. The other thing if even before you are ready to buy, is to start looking now at the market, how much things cost now. It's going to go up eventually, a little by little, and where you want to be. So this is kind of like the dream and the realities have to kind of keep flip-flopping. You have to keep dreaming the dream and then grounding it in reality, and dreaming the dream and grounding it in reality again. And it's like you kind of have a little bit of like the sugar, a little bit of the salt. And once you have all the pieces in place, it happens. So let's see. I'm following my my PowerPoint here that I didn't do up in Novato. The other part that I wanted to say here was about women and property ownership. And that's another piece. So that's the process, which I just explained to you. And now I also want to explain to you the part of this that is important to me as a feminist, as a woman, as somebody who wants equity in the world between men and women, is the importance of us as women understanding this sometimes daunting process so that we can own property, so that we don't have to rely on others. And in the end of our life, when we don't want to be left with nothing, we want to have something either to give to our children or something someone can't take away from us. The reality still is, and I mentioned this up there, that women still only own 1% of the land in the world. And that's a really scary statistic, is that we do not own property because we were never taught that that was an option. There was no financial teacher in our lives. Maybe for some people, but I certainly didn't learn that, when you grow up, honey, you're going to own a house. I grew up thinking, grew up, Italian Catholic. I was taught, you're going to grow up and marry a man and they're going to take care of you. And that's not always the model that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other pieces that I want to talk about in this is not necessarily having to do this on your own, right? There's co-ownership. And there's not only gathering your team if you want to do it on your own, but gathering your team if you want to do it in as a group of women, trusted women who say, we love each other enough to know this is going to be difficult at times. It's like a relationship. Let's write up a prenuptial agreement about this piece of property that we want to own together. And let's try this, because we're not going to know unless we try it. Now, what exists now is something called a TIC agreement for people who would like to own co-ownership wise. And a TIC agreement stands for tenants in common, people that own something together. And there are papers that are drawn up before you go into an ownership situation that state absolutely everything about the ownership, how much each person owns, if it's a 50-50, if it's a 4-way split. It can even be done in 3s. It's always easier if it's done in even numbers, but that doesn't negate anything. And everybody can bring in an equal amount of money to the table. The more people you have involved, the less each person has to bring in, but then the more people that you do involve, and you have to bring in people you trust that are conscious enough to be able to negotiate in these kinds of situations. But the TIC agreement allows people to say, hey, somewhere down the line, I really feel like I want to move on. I'd like to set up another retreat center in Hawaii now, so I'm going to take the equity out of this, this Napa retreat center that we've created, and let's do a sister retreat center out in Hawaii or in some other part of the world that really needs a retreat center, like, Alabama or somewhere where it's not, where we want to spread female empowerment. So those agreements help us to really understand what we are getting into, so that there is an exit strategy. And there is a woman in the city who helps draw up these agreements. There's several lawyers that do this. And this woman, Lisa Paul, is one that I like, number one, because she's a woman, and she's been doing it for a long time, and she believes in equity shares. She believes in co-ownership because she understands that people can't buy things alone. And she is a pro-female owner lawyer, which is why she does this, because she knows that if you're going to buy, you may not want to wait for that husband person to buy with. You may want to do it with your sisters, and that's okay. That is a new model. There's not a lot of women who ever went to, buy on their own. So let me see. These are a lot of points. I want to see.
Erica, I also want to open it up to Q&A,
yeah.
Pretty shortly, because it's a lot of heady
stuff.
information. Yeah. And maybe there's some specific questions that women have.
No, that's why I didn't do any of this at the workshop, because it's not. It's a lot of food on the table. So why don't we stop there with, yes, women need to own property together, alone, but they need to own it. So any questions I can answer to help you understand a little bit more?
I just want to say that I really loved this whole the story that you were saying about this woman who created this opportunity for you, which really paved the way for you to be a homeowner here in the Bay Area, and what how you're actively living and recreating that for other people. I just want to say that just this big kudos to you and the kind of woman that you are, aside from just, also giving us collectively more tools to work with, that you actively are assisting artists, and it's just great to hear.
Yeah, it's not an easy process, and you can't do it on your own, and it just feels kind of daunting. And often when I do go through that buyer's guide with people, people's eyes glaze over. They start to feel sleepy, and it just feels like homework. Do you remember that feeling of having way too much homework to do?
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
Hey, I have something that I don't know that it's a question, but I talk with a lot of women about what their dreams are for their life, and I help them with the obstacles. And you know, in so many conversations, casual and with clients and all that, I talk to so many women who have the same vision of, I want to create a retreat center, and yet everybody seems to be like they want to start it up by themselves.
Right.
And you know, so I have a unique circumstance where I live in a retreat center, you know, and right now I don't have to own it, which right now feels like a great blessing because it's a piece I don't have to worry about, and it's family, you know, who own it, my spirit family. And so I feel very blessed, and that's not in my consciousness right now, but I'm super committed. I think it's amazing. I'm super committed to building community and supporting women. And I guess my comment is, how do we help all these women who have the same vision to realize that if they give up their own particular precious specific need to have it be their certain way and come into the big sisterhood, something way bigger than they could ever do on their own. Even if they have plenty of money, it's like there's so much bandwidth that goes into this place, you know, even as just a steward. So I want to speak to women who are going to be listening in to this conversation, you know, to really be willing to be part of the sisterhood, you know, and to let it happen versus the gotta make it happen. And I don't know, Erica, if you're one of the people that could facilitate that, but I just want to send that message out. Like, we all have to start meeting each other, and, you know, because it's always going to be a collaboration.
Right. And I think that's the difference between the way that women can do it and the way that men have done it. And if we look at history and we look at all of the sort of the utopias that were created, you know, at the beginning of America, all of those religious groups that came over from Europe, led by men with this vision, and many of the cults, we can call them, were an effort to create community, but they were created around this ego of a male, one single individual who then, you know, wanted all of the wives and the children, and or you know, they banished the young men and so they can have all the young women. I mean, there's so many models. You look at the Shakers and the Mennonites, and, you know, however many different sects that there have been, and even you know even the ones that have been not necessarily around Christianity. There's been some, you know, other religious groups that have come to try to create a utopia around the idea of a male figurehead, the one male figurehead. The Adidas Sun Ra is another prime example. Not to, you know, knock people's decision, but I do say, well, I don't necessarily want to be the 17th wife of Adidas Sun Ra, you know.
La-di-da,
to have my spiritual enlightenment. I want to create this in sisterhood, because we can be powerful as a group, and it doesn't have to be the king at the top and everyone beneath them. It can be the circle. The circle that Jessica created.
Right, exactly.
The circle is stronger than the rod. It is always stronger than the rod, right?
So I'm super grokking this conversation. This is a rabbit hole we can go down forever, because this is the conversation that we're, you know, in terms of lifestyle,
right,
for most of us. But let's open it up for some more questions, because we haven't heard from Eileen or Jamie, who are some newer members to our circle. So I want to make sure that they get a voice as well. So I don't know if Eileen or Jamie, if you want to unmute yourselves, and any comments or questions or anything that's coming up for either of you.
Yeah.
Hi. This is oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Erica. Go ahead, Jessica. Jamie. Go ahead, Jamie.
No, we both got excited there. You know, I don't have a question, but I'm just full of appreciation, and I want to say that the communication so far has really contacted me with the deeper realization that the retreat centers that I've always dreamed of as a little girl, for no reason at all, it's just always been a vision of mine. It is really, I'm really connecting some big dots right now because I'm hearing the keys, and that it's about unity, it's about collaboration, a community, and not about, you know, me trying to figure this out on my own. And personally, you know, I'm a retreat facilitator. I'm already a retreat leader. I have a community that follows me. I'm not the goddess with the money that can put down the bucks for property. But now I'm inspired because of this conversation to put out there to the universe, well, what if there are goddesses who are already doing that, and they're looking for the community to come. You know, they're looking for the retreat leaders. They're looking for that juice, that energy to energize their properties. So I want to share that. That's what personally is happening for me right now. Really, really enthused about the conversation, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm excited for your excitement. And I really hope that you do find sisters to work on that and create that dream and community, because it's my dream that there are women like you who create retreat centers all over the world. I want to see temples to the divine feminine everywhere. That's my bigger vision. And I want to help women buy the land and the temple so they have it, so it's theirs. So it's our female legacy that we leave to women and girls, you know.
This is Eileen, and Jamie, that was lovely, and I echo what Erica says there, that not having the money doesn't mean you can't be right there as an integral part of building a temple or a community center. I am firmly middle-aged at this point, and I am happy to say that we've done something similar to you, Erica, in buying a home, but we did it on our own. But we had tenants upstairs and downstairs that, you know, we lived in a closet and rented out the rest of the house, and it ended up paying for itself for a long time. And now we can occupy a little bit more of the house while still renting to our family outside, you know, from different parents kind of thing. And I wanted to mention that I'm part of a ski club in Tahoe that it's a Kaliva ski club is what it's called. It's a Finnish ski club that was built by probably about 25 Finnish families on some land up in Tahoe. And they ran out of Finns, so I'm now a member and I'm not Finnish. And we pay once a year for membership, and then we pay every time we go up there. But on our vision, my husband and I, we're going to have our home in Flint, a home in Tahoe, and a home down in Santa Cruz. That was our vision. And the home in Tahoe kind of took care of itself with this $200 a year membership and paying $6 a night to stay there, with a couple work parties every year. And I think that's part of that vision. And then beyond that, I forget who it was that talked right after you guys were talking. She just said this is so important to do the collaborative stuff because of all of us having similar visions. The thing that I'm thrilled about is anytime I have a vision, I relinquish the need for it to be my vision only and see who's already doing it, because
right on.
Again, I'm middle-aged and I really want to maximize the opportunities out there and just see if it's not coming to me automatically, who's already creating this that I can be part of theirs. And it seems to be a really good tool to have as far as being malleable and being able to create together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's so I love the vision, and I agree. It's really imperative that we go this route. And my next move is Costa Rica or Nicaragua rather than Santa Cruz. So if anybody's in, that's where we're going in the next 5 years. If anybody wants in on that, loveliness.
I'll keep your number.
Okay.
Yeah, that is.
In case we need to expand.
Yeah, and I think that is a great way of putting it. And I often feel myself that if I'm not able to do something, someone's doing it for me. That's that's kind of how I feel. I'm not able to be, I'm not able to be the Dalai Lama in this lifetime, but he's being it for me, or
Right.
or whatever, whatever it is that I'm feeling like, oh, I wish I could do this. When you feel that someone else is doing it, then you can just give them the energy to do it even more, right? And so that is a great model, just being, that's called equity sharing also. I'm not sure when you're done with that finish club, do you get any money on the way out, or it's kind of your investment is kind of as a renter / owner? I'm curious.
That's just, I don't think anybody's getting anything on the way out. It's a nonprofit that just takes care of itself, and we put some work equity in. It's just it's just a shared space, and it's just another way of looking at kind of the woman that spoke up that she lives at a retreat center that somebody else owns. It's still a great option,
Right.
Oh, it's an amazing option. Right now, it's like I said, it's better than owning because I have less responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And owning is it's challenging, and yes, it does have a lot of responsibilities, but if you can create these kind of co-owned situations, it makes everything more possible. It makes it more possible to continue paying the mortgage on something, continue, everybody continue to pay for the utilization of that space. And in some ways, I have mixed feelings about Airbnb, but it is interesting to see how many people now can share their homes. And in fact, your home can be other people's homes, and other people's homes are your homes. And really, we have that flexibility if you want to utilize that. But that, we can, we still can continue to teach each other and to, how we can be part of these kinds of situations. And I think young people coming up need to either be educated into how they can either own their own, or that some sisters have already created something that they can be part of. Like what you've done, Amanda, and you have that space. I'm assuming you want to continue that and pass that on to, the next generation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you too, Jessica. I mean, you've created such an amazing community that I'm sure you want to see it carry on in perpetuity. Who will you pass the wand to? Who will you pass the torch to? It's, those are kind of mobile temples in a way. I still have this sense that I want to see us move from the coast, or really, we're really much more of that left coast. I want to see that move in, and I guess my vision is, can we move some of this consciousness that we have here in the Bay Area to other places? I'm wondering. We're lucky to be here, sort of super saturated with with great energies. But I do see like it just has to expand, right? And this is kind of my way of like, how can we expand this? How do we grow? So are all of you ladies, do any of you know any people who, like you said, Amanda, people who are looking to do this in community or looking to do it on their own, but do you think that you might be able to gather all those women together and say, hey, you all want to do this on your own? Here's a group of you who
I'm going to start
doing it together.
I'm going to start. It hasn't kind of come into my field for a little while, because ever since I met you, I've like, okay, next time somebody tells me that,
Mm-hmm.
it just feels like
Mm-hmm.
that's what everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to do these women's things, and have the land to do it on. And so, yes, I'm happy to be in the conversation about how to bring the women together. I mean, that's why I'm creating community, because I want all the women who want to do that to come together and have a shared vision that we can support each other, even if it's not on the same property, right? And, to have that same sense of integrity that's trusted, and kind of build like a community brand of integrity and safety and sisterhood and service and all those good things. So I'm in the conversation and curious. I'm not sure where I fit in, but I'm here because I feel like it's important, and I'm a part of it somehow.
It does make me think a little bit of the sorority model. Certainly not with the kind of the stigma or the stereotype of the sorority girls, but that they're women that have national groups of sororities all over the world, and you can go to your sorority sister house anywhere in America. If there is another sisterhood, they have created that connection, and where they are in terms of consciousness is debatable, but it's its own entity, and to be able to have sister organizations all over the world is kind of the goal, right? And I know you do that here locally, Jessica, with there's the Goddess Collective, and there's WOW, and a couple of other women's empowerment organizations that you are coming together to do that. And I do feel like those are the kinds of things that we want to grow, right? I mean, also what you do, Amanda, you're creating your own circle and bringing that in, and
yeah, I see that as hopefully being something, like I said, that feeds together as the community, as the women come together and are like, okay, we want to do our own circles now that are maybe endorsed by me, by, the Living Wisdom School, and say, okay, well, we obviously can't house them here because we're full already with our own events. But here's Erica, and she'll help you, expand and hopefully take it, to other countries, so that we distribute the wealth of healers in California for sure. And I'm up for that. I'm up for that as well. I'm on whatever kick spirit sends me. I'm up for it.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of spread the word, right? I mean, right now it would right for what's going on in the world right now, that this would happen. And
I had to step away for a second because I had to go to the bathroom. And I'm wondering if Jamie had a chance to share.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Great.
Do you and either of you ladies have anything else that you would like to say? Jamie, and is it I'm sorry, I don't know. Amanda's there.
Amanda. Well, I really would love to brainstorm at some point. I've got to kind of step out the door. I'm going to a workshop right now, but I'll be talking as I'm on my way out. I just want to brainstorm a way of bringing all these women with the same vision together and having somebody choose. That's why I'm willing to be that person, but they have, the women have to start showing up and say, hey, do the thing as a group, it might be community. Let's get it.
It might be interesting to, especially after the Goddess Revival Conference, because so many people ooh and ah at your property, to either have what's coming through is to either have a table set up throughout the weekend that maybe there could be a few different women.
Do you want your own retreat center?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. When you can have a sign up sheet, and then maybe there could be a way to do a call like this, but specifically a webinar for women who are specifically interested in Erica.
Can we use the word, Erica? This is Eileen talking. Erica, is the term land trust something that
Yeah, everybody. Yes, that's another one of those, the vocabulary words and the thesaurus of terminologies, and that is
but if we could have a cooperative women goddess land trust, and that could just start taking over, anywhere. Like you're just paying into a land trust, and that's worldwide, where this trust has a board of trustees.
Right.
And it's purchasing land based on the needs of the people that are involved.
Right. And that does happen. I mean, people are doing that for the rainforest. People are doing that in Africa for women's groups in villages. And this is, and it does happen.
I'm a Pachamama Vision Keeper, for the Pachamama Alliance.
Yeah. I mean,
for that very thing in the.
Yeah. These are, and owning collectively is so important. And the more that we can do, the more that we have, stewardship of the land. So yes, land trusts are an incredible vehicle, a tool for making this happen. And these are tools that men have been using forever to usurp properties. So we have to use them for good, for just preserving, for buying the land and just putting a temple on it and just doing rituals on it. And sometimes that's it, right? You don't have to frack it. You don't have to put cattle on it. You just have it.
Right.
So yes, I agree with you. And this might be, I would love to have this kind of conversation or bring this up to kind of further what you're all doing currently. How does ownership or being part of an entity, either as Fem Talks or as your wisdom school, Amanda, and also Jamie, what it is that you do, how can we collectively start to empower the women that come into our circle and our sphere to invest in something that will grow, that they can be part of, like your ski lodge, which is a great model. Or like Esalen or Harbin or Coal Belly Farm or any of these fabulous California organizations that really make California what it is, So it's something that I think deserves a further conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your wisdom and your call, Erica, and really this whole conversation that is really weirdly new. There really isn't anyone else teaching this stuff. I mean, maybe there is, but I just feel like in terms of wisdom and the kind, training, entrepreneurship training calls, I feel like this is very unique, what you're teaching. So I just wanted to appreciate you for that, for really being a trailblazer. And
Erica,
it's really incredible.
I'm just doing what Lottie did for me. That's all I want to do. And she was a trailblazer for sure, owning land as a single woman.
I feel like Erica, I want to I'm like having some inspiration about how you and I can join forces to gather the women with the vision.
Right.
Using my property as a very real inspiration and like, oh, right, it can happen.
Right.
Instead of just it's my fantasy, but I don't really believe it's possible, to actually gather. So please connect with me and I think we can set something up that'd be beneficial.
That would be great. I would love to do that.
Cool. Awesome. And I'm gonna take off now, but thank you so much. It's been great to drop in and feel the inspiration.
Thank you, Amanda. And I look forward to coming to see your space.
Yay!
I'm coming soon.
Me too. Yay! Awesome. All right, lots of love, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Well,
are we all going?
Erica,
Jamie's still here. Jamie's still here. If you have anything to say, I'd love to chat.
I'm gonna go ahead and kind of officially close the conversation and turn off the recording. And if you ladies want to continue to connect or chat, that's completely fine. But I just wanted to give an official, thank you, Erica, so much for bringing this very unique wisdom to the table. I love that you're part of the speaker community. Like you're one of us. So I know we get to continue to connect with you and ask you questions and be in relationship with you. And my hope is that this conversation, like Amanda was saying, is really just a catalyst for us all elevating together, not only in the arena of increasing income and growing our business, but really growing our wealth wisely and growing our wealth together. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah. I don't know if you have a final sentence or intention or prayer, affirmation to share before I turn off the recording.
I do. I hope and wish and pray and meditate on empowering our sisters in our community to work together to hold the land in a way that is sacred, in a way that is worthy of Mother Earth, and in a way that empowers us, and in a way that gives an example to our brothers of how Mother Earth should be taken care of. And if we hold on to the ownership of it, we will lead by example.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica.
So we're going to...
Thank you.
I want to include ways for women to contact you, whether it's email or any other way. So I'll include that with the video. Okay. So Erica, if you can email that to me, any, I can just copy paste exactly what you want for women to see. I'll include that. So I'll stay on with you, but I'm going to turn off the recording. So those of you that are sisters who are watching this after the recording, thank you so much for being here, for staying tuned, and I want to encourage you to stay connected with Erica, and looking forward to hearing from all of you how you grow your wealth and what choices, what seeds this plants and what those seeds grow into. So thank you.